Everyone so much for joining today for our webinar, Mastering Social Media, Steps to Build a Strategy that Drives Results. So my name's Charlotte. I'm a digital PR strategist here at Wagada Digital. I'm hosting today. So I've been with Wagada for over 3 years now. And yeah, working on all things digital PR. So sorry, I'm just admitting someone else. So yeah, working on digital PR strategy as well as executing all different types of campaigns. And I work really closely with Ellie in our social and content team. So yeah, if you haven't connected with me before on LinkedIn, please feel free to do that. And then a bit more about our agency. So we are an award-winning full-service digital marketing agency with 3 offices in St Albans, Cheltenham and London. We have a full team of digital marketing specialists covering all different types of services from social media, SEO, digital PR, website development, employer branding, and we're also HubSpot Platinum partners. And we work with a wide range of clients, both B2B and B2C. So just to reiterate again, if anyone has any questions, please pop them in the chat and we will ask them at the end. And this is being recorded, so you will receive a copy after the event. And now I would like to hand over to Ellie to introduce herself.
Thanks, Shah. So yeah, I'm Ellie. I head up our social and content team here at Wagada Digital. So the team's work spans across social media content, digital PR, as Shah just said, and written content. And really everything we do is backed with strategies to create content that aligns with our clients' brand goals and objectives, and ultimately strengthens their connection to their audience online. So I'm super excited to talk you through the steps we take to build a social media strategy and create content that drives success on social media. So very quickly, I just wanted to talk a bit about the landscape, just so we understand where we are in the social media world at the moment. So the average person in the UK spends 4 hours and 20 minutes online each day. Sounds like a lot, but honestly, mine is looking like that number. We don't talk about it. Over 70% of people who have a positive experience with a business on social media will recommend that business to their networks. And 64% of consumers purchase products after watching a video on social media. So you're all probably here because you know social media has a lot of potential. But actually looking at the landscape, there is so much to compete with. There's so much noise. There's so much activity on social media. It can be really, really hard to cut through the noise. So it's absolutely vital that you've got a strategy in place that helps you kind of understand your audience, understand the purpose behind all of your content in order to achieve success on social media. So what we're going to go through today is we're going to look at conducting a social media audit to really set the foundations and guide your strategy. We're then going to look into how to develop content that resonates with your audience and drives that engagement. We'll then go on to how paid and organic social media really work well together to amplify reach and drive those results before moving on to looking at which metrics matter most. And we'll also look at some brands who are absolutely smashing it on social along the way. Fab. So step 1 when it comes to your strategy is actually taking a bit of a step back and making sure that we understand our business goals and who our audience is as the first part of our audit, as this really sets the tone for everything we're going to do on social media. Then as part of our audit as well, we can go on to understanding how your current content is performing, where you are at the moment, and also benchmark against competitors and the wider landscape. So obviously, the whole point of social media marketing, the whole point of any of your marketing is to support your business goals and your business growth. So it's super, super important we have those business objectives in place to then from there see what this looks like on social media and track what we want to measure on social media. And there can be various different goals and objectives. It could be engagement, awareness, conversion, but I've just taken this one as an example. So let's say you want to increase your repeat client base by 10%. You get lots of new customers all the time, but you know that your loyal repeat customers generate more sustainable business for you. So what we're looking at here is like a sentiment and engagement sort of goal. We know that the people who engage with our content, who say positive things about us online, are those loyal customers who come back and repeat purchase. So the types of metrics that we want to look at and understand on social here are things like engagement rate, positive comments, brand mentions. And from here, we can then set a KPI on social media to make sure that everything we do feeds back into our business goals. So for example, let's say that our key performance indicator is an engagement rate of 6% on LinkedIn. We know that we should keep this in mind when creating every single piece of our content moving forward. So yeah, as I said, everything we're doing on social comes back to your ultimate business goals. And actually, just a quick note to say, we have monthly KPIs that we're constantly checking in on, we're constantly measuring against, and changing tact if what we are doing on social media is not achieving what we hope to achieve in line with the business goals. Cool. So the next step is to really delve into who your target audience are. So as business owners, marketers, you probably have quite a good understanding of who your demographics are. So things like your age, your jobs, locations of your target audience. But actually on social media, it's important to go a step further than that and really understand their psychographics. So thinking about what they care about, what are their values, what are their beliefs, what are their lifestyle. And this helps you to create content that really resonates with them more and speaks to them. Also really important to think about their goals, their needs, and their challenges and their pain points. And when you're thinking about this, think about how your service or your product helps them achieve their goals or addresses their pain points that they might have. Again, all of this just helps you to tailor your messaging so you can speak to your audience. As well, a super important part of understanding your audience is understanding their social media habits. You wouldn't market to Gen Z the same way that you would market to Gen X. They're probably on different platforms. They're probably online at different times. They probably have a completely different intent when they're on social media. So understanding who your target audience is, your target audience's social habits, what their preferred platforms are, their content preferences, their engagement patterns will all help make sure that you're posting with a strategy and reaching your audience on social media. So I wanted to show you how you can audit your existing followings on social media. I think this is really important to understand, where you are as a starting point and if you need to change tact. So here on the left is an example from Meta. I can analyze my following based on location, age, and gender. And we can see from this screenshot here that this client's following is very heavily male. So if that is their target audience, that's absolutely great. They're smashing their content. If their target audience actually they would expect to be more female, clearly their content is not resonating and they really need to change tact with their content. I also wanted to say, don't be afraid to speak to your audience. Social media is meant to be social. You can ask them questions, get their feedback, post an Instagram poll or a LinkedIn poll to gather detailed insights from them. And all of this just helps you be able to speak to them better. So on the right here, if it wants to load, there we go, is an example of content we posted for our client Mystery Vacations, who basically are budget-friendly holidays for younger people seeking adventure and excitement. So we identified that using TikTok and posting meme content, really using their language, would perform well for them. This on the left is an example of Rode, who are a skincare and beauty brand, but you can see in their content that their feed is about the wider topics of wellness, health, self-care. They know exactly what kind of aesthetic their audience is going for because they deeply understand their audience. As well, understanding your audience really helps you to understand what channels to prioritize. I think there's often a huge pressure to sort of be everywhere at once, and it can be really overwhelming. But start with what platform aligns best with your audience, and actually this is likely to work better for you. Think about matching the platform's strengths to your goals. If your goal's brand awareness, maybe TikTok or YouTube would work for you. If your brand's about community building, maybe X might be better for you. So consider where your target audience spend their time and what the demographics look like on these platforms when working out where you should spend your time. It's also worth thinking about content fits. So if your content might prefer videos or something super, super visual, or maybe they prefer a text format article to read through. So yeah, all things to consider when picking your channels. I did also want to spotlight Xbox on Reddit, which, Reddit's not necessarily people's first go-to social platform of choice. But Xbox have an official Microsoft-run community for people who are basically on the Xbox Insider program, so they get early access to new Xbox features and games before everyone else. As I said, Reddit's not the most natural place for people to think that they can do their marketing, but Xbox identified that the tech community is already highly engaged on Reddit, so they actually met their audience where they're already spending time and really tapping into them in that way. So yeah, don't just post on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn because everyone else is. Really think about how you can reach your audience where they're spending time, and how it helps you stand out more. Fab. So now we're going to look at, as part of the audit, reviewing our best and least performing content. And all of this will help you get an idea of where you're starting from when we're building our social media strategies. So what I would do here is pull data from the last 6 months. This is preferable because it gives us a really meaningful overview of performance and avoids any anomalies that might exist in our data. But some platforms like Instagram, for example, don't let you go back that far. So you just sort of have to work with what you can. So on the right there, I just gave a quick demo of how I would export the data from LinkedIn, but you can go into the analytics of all of your social channels and have a look at past performance. What I would then do with this data is I would sort by engagement rate. Engagement rate really helps us focus on content that truly resonates with our audience. So it's a more meaningful metric to look at than just number of likes, for example. Once I've got all of my content sorted, I'll then start delving into if there are any trends in the data. So, which content types or topics get the highest engagement? Is it always a post about a certain service? Is it always an informational carousel? Are there any specific posting days or times that have consistently performed better over the past 6 months? Do certain formats like video or image consistently outperform others like text? Being able to spot and really delve into these themes and these trends helps us to determine what content we can replicate because it resonates with our audience, and also, just as importantly, what content isn't resonating and what we can improve on and what we can learn from. And as I sort of mentioned at the start, we're constantly testing and looking and measuring against KPIs so that we can improve our content and constantly get better. There's actually a really cool feature on HubSpot that I wanted to show you. If you navigate to the social section on HubSpot, you can compare social posts. So you literally you can plug in 2 or more social posts and it will pull up the metrics for you. So this is great if you are posting content when you're testing. So let's say you post 2 posts about the same topic, but you test a different call to action in each of them. Or you post something about the same topic, but one's a video, one's an image. You can actually directly see comparisons of what resonates more with your audience. So on the subject of HubSpot, we are platinum partners, and my colleague James, who's going to be absolutely thrilled when he finds out I put a massive picture of him on this slide, is doing a small webinar on the 17th of July, so later this month, on HubSpot email nurture flows. So if you have HubSpot at the moment but want to learn how to utilize it better, or are considering maybe looking for a new CRM entirely, I would definitely recommend popping down there and joining that webinar. And you can scan that QR code, or this will all be hyperlinked when we send the deck around. Cool. So the final part of the audit section is benchmarking against competitors. And this really helps provide insights with your performance compared to what else is out there, and can also help you identify areas for improvement. So by comparing your social media presence with competitors, you can understand what works well in your industry, but also what you can do better. So it's not about copying, and I don't think any of you would copy, but it's all about getting inspiration from other accounts who have the same target audience as you, who have already been testing content with that target audience, and seeing how you can take inspiration from that and do better. So there's a variety of different social tools that already exist to help you benchmark your brand's performance against your competitors. And they offer a number of various different insights and data that you can look into. Some of these are probably even platforms that you might use already for different things. So, maybe Hootsuite or Sprout Social for scheduling. So if you've got platforms like this, definitely take a look to see if there's any benchmarking capabilities. But if you don't have any tools like this and want to really, take control and understand the process yourself, there's a number of ways that you can really delve into what your competitors are doing without these tools. So this is just an example on the right of a couple of different platforms. I think we've got Facebook down here, and this is LinkedIn, of where I can benchmark our performance against our competitors. So in LinkedIn, the competitor highlights, I can actually plug in 5 other competitors and see where I rank, or our brand ranks against them in terms of follower growth and how much they're posting. So it's just really important to have that idea of where you stand in the industry and what other people are doing. While benchmarking, it's also really, really important to be aware of the wider industry. Not all industries will have the same standards, so the same expected engagement rates or follower growth. So it's always a good idea to have a look. So what I've done here on the right, for example, is I pulled from a benchmarking report for the healthcare industry and the marketing agency industry on Instagram engagement rate. And you can see there's quite variations in what you would expect to find on the platforms for the different industries. So yeah, it's just definitely something to be aware of, so you can understand really, oh great, you've got a 10% engagement rate, but is that good in your industry? There's loads and loads of benchmarking reports out there. This one's from Hootsuite, but definitely keep your eyes on those and monitor them throughout the year. I also wanted to talk about the importance of understanding what's going on in the wider industry on social media as well. When we're posting online as a brand, we're not just competing against other brands, we're competing against influencers, content creators. There is so much noise and so much competition to get the views and the engagement from your audience. So a great idea is to just get a much wider picture of what you're up against. So this is an example of TikTok Creator Studio, which is an AI-powered tool by TikTok, which I can basically ask it to tell me all the top learnings from the top ads about the holiday industry, for example, or what hooks people are using in their content about holidays, and really not only get inspiration, but get inspiration based on what is already working and what is already out there and what I'm competing against. Fab. So now we've looked at the audit, we really understand our goals and we understand where our audience spends time and who they are, we can move on to how to develop content that really resonates with them. So the first step to this is developing your content pillars. So this is 3 to 5 themes that really bridge the gap between what your audience cares about and what your brand offers. And this just helps to ensure that all of your content has a purpose and it's something that your audience will care about. Your audience on social media are promoted to and they're sold to all the time. They're just going to scroll away. They don't want to hear it. You need to stand out by posting things that they care about, that will then make them care about what you have to offer. So to understand content pillars a bit more, I've got Nike as an example. They've achieved, huge success on social media by focusing on building a strong brand community. They post really high quality visuals, and they're really great at storytelling through their social media as well. So you can see from this Instagram screenshot here that they are not just promoting their clothes and trainers. I think there maybe is one product photo in there, but the brand is so much more than that, and what people buy into is so much more than that. They know their audience, so they know exactly what to speak to them about. So these are some pillars that I think Nike could be working with. They haven't said this officially, but empowerment could be an example. Nike inspires individuals to push their limits, to take control of their own potential. They're ambitious, they have goals, they really know what their audience is striving for. I think athletics could be one. Their core focus is performance and innovation that supports athletes at every level to exceed. And they're really good at showcasing other people's success as inspiration. And finally, authenticity. Nike builds trust by celebrating genuine stories of real athletes, and really embraces diversity and individuality. So when you're building these content pillars, really, really have a think about what your audience care about, who they are, what their wider goals are when forming these pillars. Cool. So now we've got these content pillars as a foundation. I just wanted to, I guess, remind you that every single piece of content should have a purpose behind it. There should be strategy behind it. I actually think when I'm building a piece of content, like, what am I trying to achieve through this piece of content? Once you have that purpose for your content, it will be much easier to create more hard-hitting content that's going to resonate with people. So, think to yourself, okay, am I trying to get some feedback directly from my community? Okay, I need to ask them a question or inspire engagement. Am I trying to target more Gen Z because at the moment my audience is completely millennial? Okay, I should probably do a sketch on TikTok because that will resonate with that audience. Am I trying to add value and inform people who are looking up information? Okay, well, I need to optimize this piece of content with my keywords for social media. Um, not all content can do it all, but we're going to look through a few different ways to create content with various different purposes. So I mentioned just then about keywords on social media. Social media absolutely is a search engine. 46% of Gen Z and 35% of millennials prefer social media to over traditional search engines. So it's really, really important that your content meets people for what they are looking for on social media. And well optimized content will help you get in front of these people. So things I like to do is be aware of like wider Google trends, even team up with the SEO team and understand their keyword research because the searches will likely overlap. But a really good way to conduct social media keyword research is actually just getting into the platforms yourself, typing in a few keywords, a few key phrases, and seeing what pops up. The platforms literally suggest to you what other people search for. So you can collate all of that information of different ways you can optimize your content to meet people that are searching for those terms. This on the right is just an example of TikTok, who were testing this AI generated text answers based off the top videos that matched my search query. So I guess I just wanted to say, if these platforms like TikTok, which our video focused platforms, are focusing on these search highlights with text because they know social media is a search engine, then we absolutely need to make sure that our content is focused on that as well.
Sorry, Ellie, I've had a message come through privately.
Yeah.
When we talk about optimizing a post,
Mm-hmm.
what do you actually mean by that? Is it just like using a keyword as a hashtag, or are there other elements to
Yes. Wow. It's like this person knew what was next on the slide.
it?
But yeah, no, great question. So when optimizing content, um, it's basically getting your keyword or your key phrase out there as much as possible. So put it on text on screen, put it in the caption, speak it within the first 3 seconds, have it in your subtitles. The platforms crawl your content to understand if what keywords you're using and therefore who they should put your content in front of. So it is just getting that in as many places as you can in a not stuffy sort of way. But it is best to be native when you're optimizing these content. So that means like creating your captions and your subtitles within the social media platforms as the platforms register that more. On the note of hashtags as well, they are not anywhere near as important as they used to be by any means, but I would still recommend including a couple here and there because it all feeds into that, helping the algorithm understand who your content is designed for and who it should feed it out to. So if you've got that keyword or key phrase, I would get that in the hashtags as well.
Sorry, Ellie, another question. Someone just asked, can you provide an example of a keyword? Maybe think of like a specific industry or something.
Yeah, sure. Well, I suppose like if you're in the restaurant industry and you have a restaurant in Soho, restaurants in Soho or best restaurants in Soho is an example of something that people would look up. I think, we're a digital marketing agency, so we would probably optimize for things like digital marketing agency, social media marketing agency. does that help? It's basically just looking at different terms that people are using to discover things online that are relevant to you. Fab. Cool. So super importantly as well is to create content that's designed to be engaged with. So people are primed to scroll, and we need to stop that scroll by getting them to engage, whether that be a like, a share, a comment. Engagement boosts content further in the algorithm, so it gets in front of more people who will then likely engage with it, and so on. So you can see this chaos on screen is a TikTok posted by Currys, who went to a Pitbull concert. Pitbull is otherwise known as Mr. Worldwide, and they're promoting their worldwide adapters. And this went viral because everyone was sending it to their friends, everyone was commenting. It's so unexpected. They got so much brand awareness from it, and more brand loyalty, and started building a community in the comments by getting people to engage with their content. I also wanted to speak about Surreal briefly, who are one of my favorite brands on social media. They're a cereal company. And I was actually on a webinar with their social media manager recently. And he was talking about the concept of soft outrage in their posts. So posting something that's a little bit controversial, but not detrimental to the brand, but something that makes people annoyed enough or interested enough to engage. So, this could be an example saying something was a mistake, or an example he gave that they use a lot is like using Comic Sans in their graphics because it looks really basic and not that great, and it's not on brand for them. It's not detrimental to the brand, but it makes people comment and engage. So yeah, engagement is absolutely key for your social media content. So obviously we can't all just rock up at Pitbull concerts every other day, but we can use AI to create visuals and content that is more engaging. So even less traditionally exciting topics can be made engaging. These are a couple of examples of things we've created in Midjourney, which is an AI image generation tool. And we've been able to create branded images that we just couldn't before, or the design team would have spent hours on. We've taken like creative concepts like this wave but turned it relevant to the client. So this top right one was for a performance attribution software for B2B, but we were able to bring this concept to life by interjecting like their branding, making it their colors, making it look a bit like a data wave, that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're not already using AI in your social media strategy, I would definitely urge you to test those tools and see what you can do. Fab. So sort of on that topic of community on social media, the best brands don't ghost and post. Building a community on your socials is absolutely vital. And this is for a number of reasons. So one, the algorithms know if you are an active member on these platforms. So when you're posting, I would recommend doing some engagement before and after. Of course, the algorithms favor people who spend time on the platform, engage with other people. I know that can be super time consuming to flick between different platforms on all the time. So there are tools like this in HubSpot, for example, of a feature of the platform where I can monitor all of my brand mentions, my comments across different platforms in one place. So that's a great tip for saving time. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen some of your favorite brands who appear to show up in every viral video's comment section. These teams, probably have really large social listening teams. So I appreciate that's not something that everyone can do, but at the very, very least, just be in your comment section, engaging with people who comment and engage on your content.
Sorry, Ellie,
yeah, go on.
Sorry, another quick question. Someone's just asked, what AI tools do we use for imagery, and do we use a paid version or do we use any free tools?
Yes, good shout. So Midjourney, massive one for AI generation. I'm not going to lie, I'm not actually too sure about the subscriptions that we have. I might have to check that one with the team. Also, ChatGPT, their image generation is getting better. We're not just using that for like text anymore, which is good. And also, you know, taking it a step further, I think Midjourney's even relatively recently released like a video aspect to their platform. So turning your AI generated imagery into video can be really, really powerful. I think like Google's released VO3 recently, which I don't think is available to us yet in the UK, but looks like it's absolutely changing the game. Like the video that people are generating through that is amazing. So there's, you know, there's tons and tons of tools out there for you to use, and there are definitely free ones as well as paid ones. So I would recommend actually spending a bit of time to just explore what's out there and see what works best for you.
Yeah. When we send the follow-up with the recording, we'll pop a couple of those tools in there as
Yeah,
well,
good
so you
shout.
guys can have a go. Thank
Nice.
you.
Thanks, Shah. Um, so yeah, building your community completely goes for your personal presence as well. I expect many of you are building your personal brand on LinkedIn, and this, you know, this isn't just posting on your personal LinkedIn, it's actually using your network, building connections, engaging with people. I've been testing a fair amount of on LinkedIn, on my own LinkedIn at the moment, actually. And my tip is engage on big accounts who already have quite a large following or quite a large community. People are calling them LinkedIn influencers at the moment, which I'm not sure I can quite get behind, but we'll roll with it for now. But by doing that, you're getting your name, you're getting your messaging out there, seen by thousands more people that you would have than you would have if you just posted on your own channel with your own following. And you can actually see now on LinkedIn comments the number of impressions you get. So it just really shows how valuable commenting can be and how much more my voice, my name, my messaging is out there. And of course, you know, when you engage with others, they're more likely to give you the love back. So it just builds that community and that rapport. Fab. And then I just wanted to speak about how being authentic is super important in your content. I don't think this is a new idea. I think we've known this on social for a while, but I really just wanted to reiterate, especially for like B2B's services industry, how important, you know, getting your people, your employees to advocate for you on social media, to show the people behind the brand is just so, so important. And like brand messages that are shared by employees are shared 24 times more frequently when it's shared by employees rather than the brand channels itself. So, you know, don't miss out on that. I also wanted to, just as an example of a brand that's absolutely killing it on social at the moment, wanted to spotlight a brand called Salt. They're an electrolyte company, but they have posted since the day they started their company this founder-led content. So you can see here they're doing point of view, building the company, a day in the life of the founder. They've, you know, they've shared mistakes with their community. They've asked their community which flavors they like. They have built such a strong community around their brand, so much so that they had thousands and thousands of pre-orders before their product even launched because of this authentic founder-led content. And yeah, another thing when creating content, I guess, is just don't be afraid of diversifying your content strategy. Obviously, you know, we've been taking learnings, we've been tweaking, we know what tends to resonate with our audience more, but don't be afraid to try new things. The platforms are constantly releasing new features, and when they do, they push these features because they want to see if people like them or not. So you can sort of use that and ride the wave of when a platform releases a new feature, give it a go and see if it works for you. This here is an example of a trial reel we did for a client. Trial reels basically are pushed out only to non-followers. This is a relatively new feature. So the idea is that you can test it with, you know, the wider world and then see if you want to push that content to your following. But actually, you can use it as a bit of a hack in the sense of, I know that this content is going to get out to more people who don't already follow me, people who haven't heard of me before. So, you know, if your goal is awareness, this is a great workaround on Instagram to make sure you're getting in front of a much wider audience. This is an example as well of a poll we did for one of our clients. Again, just like utilizing features within these apps to get that engagement, to get people get people engaged. You know, polls sort of gamify things for people so they're more likely to engage, which is great. Cool. Okay, now moving on to how organic and paid social media work better together. And definitely, don't forget about this part of your social media marketing. So organic is sort of all of those things we spoke about, things like brand awareness, educating, entertaining, inspiring your community, really building those relationships around your community. But with paid social, you can get these messages in front of exactly your target audience and really help to bring people down the funnel. So I just wanted to talk about a few use cases for paid social. Um, Testing organically and scaling with spend. So organic is a great way to see if your content will perform well, if your audience care about it, if it resonates with them. And then you can decide to put budget in behind content that you know is already more likely to perform. So HubSpot are a good example of this. They're pushing their new AI features at the moment. They've got an integration with ChatGPT, so they've posted some educational carousels here. They've done like video sketches about it, various different types of engaging content on organic. But now they know that their audience cares about it. They have turned it into a paid ad as well, giving them a bit more value and ultimately bringing the people down the funnel. Um, one of the best things about paid social is that you can target specific customers in your campaigns with complete precision and control. You can target things like demographics, interests, companies, company size. So you can really ensure that the right messaging is getting in front of the right people. Not only then are you not wasting budgets, which is great, but then you're speaking to the right people who are far more likely to convert when you speak to them with the exact messaging. So this is just an example of one of our clients, CVP, who ran a competition with Canon that was strictly targeted at 18 to 25-year-olds. Obviously, their broader audience is a much wider age demographic than that. So promoting this content to them, wouldn't be correct. But using paid social, we were able to get the direct messaging in front of this specific target audience, which made them far more likely to convert. And then another cool thing you can do with paid social is re-engage people who are already further down the funnel. So they're already more likely to engage and convert. So this could be someone who's gone to your website, but they didn't quite hit convert. Re-engaging audiences with paid ads can actually increase your conversion rates by up to 70% compared to targeting cold audiences. So, a great strategy there. This is an example that we did for a client of a lead magnet. And I just wanted to share this as that's a great type of ad you can do to run to people who have shown some interest. You then give them a little bit more value and just help bring them down that funnel. I wanted to show you how we can look at what our competitors are doing on paid social as well, which is really, really cool. This is screenshots from Meta Ads Library and also LinkedIn. If you navigate to the brand page, if they're running ads, you can click and view their ad library. And the reason this is so important is that your competitors have probably done a lot of research into what your audience likes with their paid ads. They've probably been A/B testing different call to actions, different formats, and learning so much and honing in what types of ads work for your shared audience. So you can get in there and take so many learnings from there, seeing what works and what you can do better. And this just means that when you then launch your paid ads, they're already in a far more optimized place than they would have been if you were starting from scratch, and therefore, again, more likely to convert. We did do a webinar like strictly on paid social strategy. So if you want a resource for that, you can get that via the QR code, or again, this will be hyperlinked when we send it around. But yeah, if paid social media is something you're considering, I would definitely look more into that. Fab. And then finally, we are going to explore which metrics matter most. So to be honest, completely depends on what your goals are on social media and those KPIs that we set right at the beginning, if you can remember that far back. As a general rule, engagement rate is a really important metric. This number really, tells you exactly for the people that have seen my content, how engaged were they with it? How much does it resonate with them? So engagement rate is a really important social media metric. If you're measuring things like awareness, views is really important. Follower growth can be great for telling you if your content is resonating people to the point that they are then wanting to follow you to see your content again and almost becoming loyal to your brand. So great from a community point of view. And then of course you can do things like look at traffic and sessions from social media to your website. People taking that step further down the funnel. I did want to say, social attribution is really hard. We've got private sharing or dark social, as it can be called. So an example of this is if someone shares a link through WhatsApp, GA4 can't attribute where this has come from. So there's just no referral info for you. GA4 in general isn't always entirely accurate. Social content often drives delayed intent. So if someone clicks on your content from social, but then comes back the next day directly by just searching you in the URL, social doesn't get that credit because of GA4's attribution model. We're also battling against cookies, which are limited, so it makes the journey much harder to see from a paid social media side of things. People can opt out of sharing data, which makes attribution a lot harder. There are things you can do to combat this with paid, so using UTM parameters, which are basically tags that are added to your URLs that help feed information into your tools. But it is tough to exactly attribute from social. So this is why it's really important to combine measurable signals, so things like increases in direct traffic, with your own contextual understanding of what you've been posting online, where you've been posting, and also why you should focus on those social media metrics that give you a really good understanding of how your content is performing. Super importantly is when we are measuring our metrics, how well we're performing, measuring against our KPIs, we've got to do something with that data. So make sure that you are constantly testing and learning based on what you've seen in your analytics. Test those different hooks, test those different format types. The more you try and test your content, the more you just keep refining your content, it's going to have more impact and ultimately more likely to hit your business goals. Fab. So key takeaways are understand where you're starting from. So not only know your audience and know your business objectives, but also understand how your current content works and how you're performing against your competitors. Always develop content with a purpose, because that's what's going to resonate with people. Utilize paid social and organic social to really bring users down the funnel, and then make sure you're consistently measuring and learning. Cool. I think we might have some time for questions.
Nice. Thank you so much, Ellie. That was really interesting. Lots of helpful tips in there. We have had a few questions come through. So the first one, what would you say is a good engagement rate on social media?
The ultimate question. It completely varies from platform to platform. And as mentioned, it does vary industry to industry. I would say, on LinkedIn, I think 6 is quite a standard good engagement rate. On TikTok, I would expect it to be much lower, somewhere between maybe 1 and 2. Again, Instagram and Meta, maybe 3 to 4. But the way that different platforms are built, TikTok is built to push out to more people, so you would expect to have lower engagement rates, and LinkedIn as a platform has quite a high one. But yeah, definitely check out those benchmarking reports for various industries and platforms.
Perfect, thank you. Another question, someone was asking, I think you spoke briefly about dark social. Would you be able to explain what that is, please?
Yeah, I suppose it's when people interact with your social content, but they sort of take it offline in a sense. It's not offline, but like an example of that is sharing through WhatsApp. It's not that someone is engaging with your post on the social media platform. It's not that they're they've DM'd it to their friend on the social media platform. It's taken off of the social platforms, which then makes it much harder for tools like GA4 to see and track that journey.
That makes sense. Thank you. Someone's just asked, how can you see competitor highlights in LinkedIn? Where do you find this in the platform?
Competitor highlights. What do you know what you mean by highlights?
I think maybe what you were showing earlier, when you compared like Wagada and had other
Oh,
competitors.
yeah, definitely. Yes, if you go to your analytics section on your LinkedIn brand page, I think it might be under, there's a competitors tab, and that's where you can plug in those 5 other competitors, and then see reports you can select date ranges, and see where you stand in terms of follower growth and post number of posts. So yeah, all in your analytics section.
Amazing. Yep, they've said they can see it now, so that's great.
Nice.
I've had a few messages come through privately. A bit of a debatable one, maybe. Should brands still be using X, otherwise known as
uh,
Twitter?
yeah, gosh, otherwise known as Twitter. What a long time ago that feels now, eh? Yeah, I mean, it's a valid question. It sort of depends on what you're trying to achieve on social media. I think brands that use X by just reposting their content from other platforms, it doesn't work. People aren't really engaging with that. But if your audience are on X and your goals are to build a community, have conversations with people, give them updates, share news, have conversations, I've just said that, then X can work really well for you. And actually it's working really well as like a customer service platform in a sense. So if that's one of your goals, then you could consider it still, yeah.
Perfect. I think as well, just from a digital PR point of view, a lot of journalists are still on X. A lot have gone over to Blue Sky, but journalists are still putting out journal requests on Twitter, so looking for experts to comment.
Mm.
So I definitely would check there if you're looking to get featured in different news articles as well. So another question that's come through privately, how do you keep up to date with all the platform updates and how do you find upcoming trends?
Yeah. Honestly, it's just be online a lot. Basically, you can sign up to different platforms like me and Shah love this one called Exploding Topics that sends you an email in whatever time duration that you choose. So it could be daily, could be weekly, of topics and trends that are gaining popularity. And while this isn't necessarily exactly a social media trend, it allows us to tap into the wider environments that we're in, and actually sort of jump on trends before they're even happening. Um, there's also, you know, being active on LinkedIn, following people who are in the industry, who post updates all the time. I find that actually to be super, super valuable. And also signing up to newsletters. So different ones I like is like Girls in Marketing, Pretty Little Marketer. There's loads out there who, again, will just be updating you when there are things like algorithm changes, platform updates, a new trending coming. Because yeah, it's a lot to stay on top on. So having it sort of pop into your inbox is really helpful.
Nice. We've had a few more questions. So, is there an easier way to understand what your audience want to see, or is it all just about trial and error, would you say?
Um, well, I suppose one is like understanding your audience and sort of having a look around in the spaces that they spend time. So if you know that they are on Facebook, are there Facebook groups that exist that you can get a look into and get an insight into how they operate? And then, utilizing what your competitors doing actually is a great way to, I guess, bypass some of that testing period, right? Because you know that they are trying to target the same audience as you. So you can use that to inspire stuff. But yeah, and what resonates with your audience now might change over time. So even if you have identified that they like carousels with a strong hook with 5 slides, you will always have to test and try new things. And tomorrow there could be a new social platform with a new format, and we'd have to test that and pivot. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not just like a straight line of once you identify what works for your audience, you can just replicate that. You do have to keep testing and tweaking.
Definitely, thank you. So someone has asked, do you feel Snapchat is a good platform for B2B or more B2C? And is this more for a younger audience, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely at the moment for a younger audience. And I would say at the moment more B2C. But that's not to say as this audience grows up, that it will become more of a core platform to market to them. And then as they sort of become into the B2B space, there's definitely potential for that happening. You know, I don't think anyone thought that TikTok would be appropriate for B2B marketing when it first came out, when it was just, young kids doing their dances. But that has evolved as the industry has evolved, as that age group has evolved. So keep an eye on it. There's definitely potential.
Good point, thank you. And another question, LinkedIn, is it worth marketing on there, I think, or is it just headhunting?
Oh, I love LinkedIn. What a loser. No, it's definitely, well, depends on your industry, but it is a great tool for marketing. There is so many active people on there. A load of people are focusing on building their personal brands. So that's like it feeds into the brand's presence. So for example, like I might use my LinkedIn to post thought leadership content, post about things that Wagada are up to, post about our services. But this all helps, market the brand as well, because it is so much more powerful coming from the team. So yeah, LinkedIn there is a lot of recruitment out there, and I know you can get a lot of those emails from recruiters that can be annoying, but no, there's a lot of potential for the platform, definitely.
Nice. Someone's just asked, would you say LinkedIn for marketing home care, is that helpful?
Like at home care, was that, sorry?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, as a service.
Um, for the care industries, for the care clients that we work with, I wouldn't say LinkedIn's probably a priority. Um,
I think
I
it's good
suppose,
if like for employer branding from that type of
yes,
aspect.
definitely. That's an example of where it would be more for recruitment. Um,
Mm,
like showcasing what your team are up to, what your values are, who you stand for to attract the most, the best staff.
mm,
But generally, I think we found like Meta to be more appropriate in the care industry for marketing.
perfect. Thank you. That was all the questions we've had come through, unless there's any other final ones. If anyone wants to put anything in the chat. Just a reminder as well, this is being recorded, and you will receive a copy after the event. Um,
Please feel free to, connect with us on LinkedIn if you have, any follow-up questions or anything. We'd be happy to chat to you.
mm. Sorry, that person just asking about home care. When you say Meta, what
Hmm.
platform? Yeah, platforms do you mean?
Yes. So Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. Um, Any other questions? Lots of nice comments in there, really. Everyone said excellent webinar. It's been
Yes.
really interesting. Thank you, very helpful. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Do feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn if you have any other questions after. Yeah, just feel free to drop us a message. Yeah, any other
Fab.
questions? Everyone's just saying it's been great, so that's
Oh,
good.
thanks everyone. Thank you for coming, and really appreciate those like engaging and good questions as well.
Yeah. Thank
Nice.
you, everyone. Okay, everyone have a good day and we hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye.